years, my aunt ran an orphanage in Tanzania, Africa, and my family would always send parcels, clothing, toys, and I would always hear stories about these children. I would see pictures of them and all these little kids wearing my clothes, and I would just marvel at the fact that my aunt dedicated her life to helping children. And then in 2010, I was dating, but I was uncertain about the future. And I just thought to myself, whether I have children of my own or not, I would love to adopt a child. And I couldn't shake that feeling. So in 2012, I decided to sign up for an adoption course. And it was during that course I decided, this is it, like I have to pursue adoption. So at that point, I hire a private adoption practitioner to complete my home study. And I decide I want to adopt from abroad. And I wanted to adopt from Haiti. So we're in the midst of her coming like every few weeks to the house and getting everything organized for this home study. And then all of a sudden, Haiti places a hold on adoptions. And they don't know when they're going to resume. And so I thought, well, this is not happening. So at that point, I decide I want to pursue domestic adoption through the Children's Aid Society. And my adoption worker comes to the home, and she shares with me that she had recently placed a child with a single female. So at that point, I knew, okay, adoption for singles is possible. Like, obviously, there's no guarantee. There's never a guarantee in every case, really. But I decide I'm going to pursue that. And I waited for approximately 3 years, and so much happened in that 3 years. This is just a little bit, or I could go on forever, but I went on vacation, and I get a phone call from a girlfriend of mine, and she is ecstatic. She shares with me that there is a young girl pregnant with twins, and she's thinking about placing them for adoption. And I get so excited. I'm thinking, I only want one child. Now I could have two. Like, this is exciting. It made a great vacation. But it didn't happen. And then from there, I placed a profile on an adoption website. And I got tons and tons of messages from people asking me to adopt their child. And these were fake messages. Like, it was so obvious that luckily I didn't fall victim to it. But it just showed me again, like, that's not the path to take. And then I decide I am going to pursue international adoption on my own through the contacts that I've made. And I pursued adoption through 16 different countries, plus Florida. And all of them were dead ends. So at that point, it's funny how things happen. A friend introduces me to a lawyer who works for the Bolivian government, so in Bolivia, and it just so happened that my cousin knew somebody who ran an orphanage in Bolivia as well. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, 2 people, like, this sounds promising. And the orphanage lets me know they have a 2-year-old little girl available for adoption. They're sending me pictures over all the time. They're letting me know what's happening in her life. And I had to seek on my own an adoption agency in Ontario who would be willing to facilitate the adoption. And I finally find this one agency in Toronto, and we're in the initial stages of kind of going through everything. And it's the owner of this adoption agency who is working my case. And lo and behold, the one child he only had one child who he adopted years prior, ends up dying in a tragic accident while we're working on my case. So I'm thinking, I've had all this stuff happen, and now this, like, it was so tragic. I thought to myself, is he even going to return to work? And so I had that weighing on me. Eventually he did return, and we went through tons and tons of paperwork, tons of calls back and forth to Bolivia, speaking with the government. And then it came to a point where he said to me, Jennifer, you're dealing with a South American country, and oftentimes things are a lot slower there than in North America. And, what if there's some corruption? There's known corruption as well. And what if you place all this money into this and nothing pans out? So he was cautioning me against pursuing this. And honestly, at that point, I became so tired, and I just questioned that maybe international adoption was not meant for me. So then, fast forward to the adoption worker at Children's Aid asking me if I have ever considered fostering or respite foster care. Truth be told, I really didn't know anything about fostering, so I had a lot of questions about it. But she had said, look, you've pursued every type of avenue you could possibly consider. You need to keep your options open. Like, think about this as another option. There's no guarantee, but one of these could lead to adoption. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And so I started providing respite care, and I would have a few children on weekends. Now, here's something very interesting. I had worked years ago with who goes to our church, and after some time of not working together, she invited me to come to Maple Community Church. I was going to a different church at the time, but she invited me to come here, and I've come ever since. Had been fostering, and they would bring 2 little boys with them to church one Sunday a month, and they would sit in the row right in front of me, and these little boys would be directly in front of me. And I was eventually asked if I would consider caring for a 10-month-old baby girl at the time. And then I learned that her siblings are these 2 little boys who for some time now have already been, I've been seeing them one Sunday a month sitting in front of me. So I've been caring for this little girl on the same weekends now that the boys, so the kids would see one another the one Sunday a month at church. Like, that is God at work. Like, there is no doubt about that at all. And I watched her one weekend a month for just over a year, and then I was told that she and her siblings were going to be placed for adoption. But it gets even better. Without even being asked if I was interested, the foster parents had told Children's Aid that they felt I was the best fit to be the parent for this child. And they said to me, they sat me down, they're like, we didn't ask you first, but we told them. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So it was evident that God handpicked my daughter for me. He handpicked her foster parents to care for her until the time was absolutely perfect for the 2 of us to be united. There were so many people that were rooting for me, so many people that were encouraging me, and when they would see a door would close, they'd be saying, don't worry, like another door is gonna open. And many people were praying faithfully over the years, even after I adopted. And they all celebrated. It was almost like we were on the journey together in a way, so they all celebrated when this amazing outcome had transpired. God answers prayers, for sure. He either says yes, no, or wait, and the outcome and the timing are his. Unfortunately, I wish it could be our own, but it's not the case. And what would I tell other people? I would say, don't give up. Like, don't give up. I could have quit time after time, and I've only shared with you part of it. There's much more, but I could have quit so many times. But if you quit, you'll think, what if? Like, what if? You may be able, for somebody that's, journeying through adoption or even thinking about it in the initial stages, to provide a child with love and support and a life that they deserve, you don't even realize how your own life will be enriched by having that child join your family.